Hey guys, I am back after a long hiatus with poker. And I have a student with me this time, and his name is Dan. He watches some of my videos and contacted me for some coaching. What's up, Dan? How you feeling?
Pretty good.
All right. So this is a little bit different than coaching someone like online, so I can't really see your blue line and your red line and stuff like that. So you just sent me a few hands that we want to get into. But before we get into some hands, just introduce yourself. How did you get into poker, and like, what are your like goals with poker?
Yeah. Um, so I'm 27 years old. I first started playing poker when I was 18. I just fell in love at that time and I was really addicted and I got most of my experience playing live. And yeah, right now I'm playing 1-2 in Texas where the max buy is 500. I understand it's bigger than
In what
this.
room is that?
That is, I play in a Texas clubhouse.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They
Um,
I heard good things about that. I've been to Houston before, but I didn't go to Texas Car House. Games get pretty big there, don't they?
Yeah, so they do live streams every, I think, 2 or 3 times a week, and they play 25, 50, 100 too.
That's pretty
So
sweet. And then you pay a rake, an hourly rake. Is that
an
correct?
hourly rate, yeah, $12.
Okay, awesome. And so you have a job right now. Is it full time or part time?
Um, it's full time.
Okay.
I'm a student as well.
Oh, really? College student?
Yeah,
What are you studying?
criminal justice.
Okay. Um, so what are your goals in poker? Are you trying to go full time, or are you trying to like just get like good and you'll just see how it goes, or like what is it?
Mhm. Right. So right now I'm playing part time at 1-2. I do pretty good, and I make pretty good money on the side.
Okay.
I'm looking to move up to the next game up that we have here, which is a 2-5 uncapped.
Okay.
And from what I understand from the pros that I know, like the games are notoriously tough. And 2-5 is notoriously tough here in TCH. And
Really? It's
I want to prepare myself for that. I have like 2-5s where you've got like businessmen and recreationals with, 1,000 or whatever. But more
so
often than not, we'll have like 2 to 5K stats.
okay. So your
And then
2-5 just
once
plays
the
so big that they don't even need stakes above it until maybe like 50, 100 or something, right?
Right, and then so they'll do the live streams, and then the big stakes players from those 2-5 games, they'll come onto the live stream and they'll play the
Okay.
25, 50 or whatever they're running.
So your goal is just right now just to get better at poker and just see how it goes because I mean I recommend that should be your goal. Trying to just go full time with poker, it's a good goal to have, but like it's either that shouldn't just be like your only goal. Like you it should just be like, "Oh, I'm good enough now, maybe I should quit my job." But if you have a good job, like you might as well keep it. Do you get what I'm
Well, like,
saying?
well, like I said, so like I'm working and then I'm playing twice a week, but I just want to be able to eventually move up to 2-5 and
Okay.
then incorporate, twice a week 2-5 and bring in like a little bit bigger profit.
We're gonna just start off with this pocket sevens hand because I think I had a lot of questions about. I mean, your first action. So, well, the first thing I want to ask you is this guy raising to 20 here. So he's making it 10x. Why is he making it 10x? Is there like a game flow thing that happened? Um,
Not really a game flow thing, but typically at the 1-2s here, since we are about like 450 big blinds or $500 deep. People typically open for 15 to $20, sometimes even 25.
so what
So
is the average open in this game?
so 15, 20, or 25.
Okay, so it's kind of playing almost like a 2-5 in terms of the sizing. And
Right. That's
that
why I feel like it's 1-2 big.
that's really good for you, by the way, because you're gonna lose less, per orbit with the blinds, especially without rake. But
Mhm.
so this raise to 20 isn't strange or anything, correct?
No, this is a standard open.
Okay, and you decided to call from the small. We've kind of talked about small blind strategy, and I play a raise fold. Um, Usually when I'm 100 big blinds deep. Do you tend to do that, or do you call a lot from the small?
No, so out of the small blind, I three bet over 90% of the time. This time I just chose not to because I just felt like I didn't want to. And I also noticed that in the GTO Wizard, this one, it mixes between a call and a three bet. So I just
Okay.
elected to call this time.
Okay, I like how you looked at GTO Wizard. So I thought you called mainly because it was a 10x open, but again, this is like some live shenanigans with the
Right.
10x, and I like calling here against. I think you could definitely call against like a fish. I assume the villain was kind of fishy, or what?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Against a pro, I don't like calling here, but against a fish, I call like all the time with hands like pocket sevens and stuff. So you flop. Oops. This site will like scroll down sometimes. So you flop middle set and on a rainbow board, which usually when like people send me these types of hands and they flop like a set, I kind of am like, why are you sending me this hand? Like it's gonna be very straightforward, but you do something sort of out of the ordinary, which was you donked for 1/3. What was like your thought process here?
Right. Um, so I noticed that this specific opponent was playing a lot of marginal hands, and she didn't open that many hands. And when she did, she had a premium hand. Um, the reason I donked was I knew that this board favored my range more than hers, especially coming out of the small blind. And I just went ahead and let $15.
So why do you think it favors you more?
Um, because when you're calling out of the blinds, you're just gonna have a lot more connectors and king X or like king sevens, king eights, and all that stuff.
So I think the r- the the reason why it's sort of incorrect to think that you have range advantage here. So originally I was gonna pull up different ranges. I was gonna pull up a small blind range versus a late position raiser, but I actually, thinking about it, I don't really have many ranges for small blind calls, and so if I were to construct a range for small blind calling, I'm not sure if there's many eights or sevens in that range. I think when people tend to call from the small, you have pretty good hands like broadways, like King 10 would be maybe your worst hand. King
Right.
10 suited.
I guess I was in my mind at that time. I was kind of thinking about like the big blinds calling range at the time.
So so you're playing this hand kind of like you're playing a big blind, a typical big blind calling range.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking at the
Okay,
time.
so
Because I'm typically three betting out of the small blind.
so I like how you think about it like that, but at the same time I do think that's a mistake because
Hmm.
a big blind calling range is fundamentally different than a small blind. Not just in this construction where we're facing like a low jack open, but like the reason why we call from the big blind is because of pot odds, and you could defend and you could realize more on later streets with how much EV you've already put in pre-flop. Out of the small blind, um, we're losing half a big blind more, so you are losing more EV there. But the ranges are just the range needs to be stronger from the small. So that's why I'm sort of arguing that uh, I don't think you have range advantage here. I think like if you're gonna, I'll just say this, okay? Playing hands like King 8, Ace 8 suited, uh, 9-10 is probably gonna 9-10 is fine to have maybe in this, but that's gonna be at the lower end of your range. I think if you play hands like that are that weak out of the small as a call, you're just gonna leak EV. So I don't think you should be calling. Well, I don't think you should be calling it a lot in general, but playing hands that are going to hit this board more often than to give you range advantage over a late position raiser is going to be minus EV. So I don't think so. So two things. One, you don't have range advantage because, and two, you shouldn't have range advantage. What I'm saying is calling hands with an 8 and a 7 in your is going to just be leaking too much pre. So the first so what I'm trying to say is those hands that you might have said king 8, ace 8, those hands just shouldn't be in your range. You're just going to be leaking too much money out of position. So that's why I actually didn't like this donk lead. Um, but here's the thing, and we could play through this hand really quickly. And then on the ace, you donk again after she calls. You do get stacks in. So there's something to be said, and then the 5 hits, and then you bet her full stack, which is like around 390 into, what was it, 222. So you're like almost double over betting, 2x over bet, like 1.5 over bet, and you get it in, right? Like she probably had like what, ace king or something?
She has pocket jack.
Pocket jacks. Okay. Wow. Pocket jacks, and she still calls it when the ace hits. So
Right.
so
Wait,
so.
so would it still be a donk on the turn since I already took the betting lead?
Oh no, I guess not. You took the betting lead. It's not really a donk. I
Hmm.
just used the term wrong. But so there is something to be said about. I think you do as a live player, in like we were talking about. I think a little bit off camera before was uh live poker. You could get a read off of someone obviously, and maybe to your credit, you kind of knew like, hey, if I'm going 3 streets here, like, like if she called my flop bet, which she could be calling with a lot of stuff, but now she's calling a turn bet with the ace of spades hit, you kind of know you're getting it all. So maybe like you're kind of right in the fact that you can lead more here or on that flop. You know what I mean? Is
Felt
that?
like she was weighted towards more of an ace, but I was kind of surprised when she showed me jacks.
I'm surprised she didn't have ace king like exactly. You know?
Yeah, yeah,
Or like pocket aces and then you just get stacked,
yeah.
which she could have had. But you know, I I personally don't like donking here. Even against fish, I don't. I would probably um, I don't know, play yeah, maybe against fish you could check raise that flop easily. Depends on like what level they're at, but I just don't like donking here against like a solid player. You're gonna get a fold, and against a fish, you know. I think you've kind of convinced me that maybe against a fish it's not too bad. Like hold on, let me do some of my okay.
Okay, so say that we check raise the flop and then went from there. How should we continue playing the future streets? Like, what
Oh,
sizing would you choose
that
for the ace of spades
that
and
that's
the
a really good question. So you're saying you check raise this flop, right? Instead of donk?
so so what was the pot before I donked?
It was 42 or
Right, so okay,
43
so
basically.
let's say I check
Yeah.
and I feel like standard fish always bet half pot. So let's just say
Basically, yeah.
so let's say she bets like 25.
And then you raise to like 100 or like 80 or something, 75 to
What
100.
size what size would you choose? I usually raise about 3x, but I'm not sure what the theory behind that.
So
Like that's something maybe you would know.
I actually am in the camp where you actually should lay a price. So it's based on pot odds. So
Okay.
do you know how to calculate pot in terms of like the PLO version of pot?
How do you
Like
go
it
about
would
it?
be what you would call new pot. It's 3 times the bet plus whatever is in the middle before the bet. So in this sense, it would be she bet 25, so it would be 75 plus the
Mhm.
40 or 40. What was it? 43 right here. Yes, 43. So that would be 120. Like let's just say 123. Now that's a massive bet, like from 25 to 123. So I would like maybe round down to like 100. Live, I do weird shit like 99 or 98 sometimes just to mess with people, especially when they're fish. But I wouldn't make it less than 80. You know.
So
Maybe 75 is okay.
so basically like 4x.
Yeah. Hold on, I might have lost you here. Anyways, we
Can
could
you
just do it. We could continue like without the without your video for now.
right,
So I just hear
okay, so
a voice.
can you do the math real quick?
I mean, let's just say you raise the 30 and she bets 10. Now she's got to call 30 more to win 40, 60, 70, 80. So you're laying a worse price. So
Yeah.
so it's
So
just a
in that case,
that's
so
why I
you
don't
want to
do
bet.
well, yeah, that's why I don't do like an X. I just do a pot or not. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. So how much more than pot would be giving the perfect odds or whatever?
No, it's not about giving them perfect odds. You just if they're on a draw and you lay a price, you would want to. It's about laying a price. Like I assume you've studied enough to like understand like pot odds and like continuing percentages, right? Like
Yeah,
so like if you're on a flush draw on the flop, you need like 4-1. So
yeah,
if
like
you don't want to you don't want to lay better than like 3-1 basically. So
right. Oh, okay, okay, gotcha.
yeah, so I mean I could next time we could go over like more of the math of poker. But I think that's just going to be getting too much into the weeds. What would be your bluffs here if you raise though? If you check raise, like let's say you check and she bets, you're raising. What are you bluffing with? 9-10? Only
Nine,
9-10?
ten.
And probably like 9-10. Um, you wouldn't be betting 9-10 at hearts because then you don't have backdoor flush, right? So maybe only three combos of 9-10. I think that's a little bit ambitious against a fish to. She might just fold. I mean, this lady you're playing, sounds like a big enough fish that she can do. She's just gonna call off anyways. But there's gonna be fish that would be like, what can he be raising me with other than like a set, pocket eights, sevens, or deuces, you know? So that's why check raising this flop. I actually don't like either. I
And
think you could.
what should we do here? So we check and then just call.
Um, yeah, you have to remember GTO. First of all, like we'd have to construct a small blind calling range, but the other thing is like GTO also like does it has more hands in it from both players. So you're gonna have like your 9-10s and maybe like your 10 jack, although she has jacks in this hand. Like it's gonna find some raises, some bluffs. So GTO would probably check raise, but how I would play at the casino would maybe check call and then check raise this turn. Even though it favors her heavily, um, yeah, check raising the turn. Now there's a spade draw out there. You could basically say, hey, I got ace queen. I'm gonna put you to the test to say, maybe you have ace. She's with her specific hand, she's probably checking, but that's why like check raising the flop is probably the best play now that I think about it. But donking, I just think you give up too much. She'll just give up too much.
So if you check raise the turn, like what sizing would you go on the river? Would you continue with a huge bet or
Yeah, you wanna,
okay?
especially like this blank river. She has 390 back. You want to make it like 200. So the pot would be if you make it like 220, then yeah, then you have like a less than a pot size bet after that, so that you can lay like if you lay a price like if you lay like 2-1, like which is a pot size bet, then it's not a ridiculous amount for her to call to win. But if you're betting like what you did, you bet almost 2x pot, which is like 400 and a 200 almost. She could just fold. I can't believe she called. That's actually you should play against this lady more often. All right, we're back after some technical difficulties. All right, so like this hand, I'm just gonna go over really quickly because I want to get some more hands in. But like, I think like you played this hand fine. I don't. particularly like three betting ace deuce suited on the button from under the gun +1.
Yeah, for sure.
I also don't really like calling it either, but like against like a 2x open, there's no one else in the hand.
Mhm.
I would also on these sites play 6 max a lot if you think you have a higher edge, just because you could get way more hands. But 9 max, these people, dude, these guys in 9 max are just the biggest fish ever. Um, so you get this 4/4 queen flop. You call, he checks, uh, and then you check back. Would you ever bet? Would you ever like raise or on the flop or bet? Just wondering like your thought process. Like,
Yeah, I think we could raise with
okay,
some backdoors.
I don't like it. I'll just say this: if the deuce was higher than a four,
Mhm.
um, or if it was higher than a queen, like the queen's tough because then you only have like ace king. But I'm saying like maybe if this queen was like a 10 and you had like maybe let's say it was an 8. It was 4/4 8. I think you could check raise like, 9/10 or jack 9 suited, something like that. Uh with these suits, with the first three suits. I wouldn't do it without that though. You want some equity. But I just want to. We don't have to talk about this hand too much. I think you played it fine. I think I would play it the exact same way. Get to showdown with your ace high, and hopefully he doesn't have a worse ace high. I think the only part of the hand that you could warrant a bluff, like you said, like maybe you could check raise flop. I wouldn't bet. I wouldn't bluff anywhere else. Is just because he's gonna have a higher kicker than you so often. But it's a paired board with the queen. That's gonna be the kicker a lot. So I like how you play it. I have no complaints about this one. Let's go to the next hand. Hmm. Oh, didn't see you there. Sorry, I was studying the solver. I'm just kidding. Next hand will be tomorrow. I recorded a bunch of hands with Dan afterwards, and I just want to pick the best ones for you guys. Uh, the rest of the video will be up later this week, and then I'm gonna take a few days off and give Dan some homework, and we'll see how he does. So stay tuned, and remember, don't stop studying. Bye.